Hello and welcome to Surveyor Says, the podcast from the National Society of Professional Surveyors. Each week, we bring you fascinating guests that are involved in the profession of surveying. We cover a lot of ground, including Table A Talk with Gary Kent, Point of Order with the NSPS Joint Government Affairs Team, Future Focus, highlighting current and future leaders of the profession, and everything survey-related in between. Thanks for joining us here on the podcast, and hope you enjoyed listening to this episode of Surveyor Says. Hello and welcome to another episode of Surveyor Says. My name is Tim Burch. I think this is episode 159. I never thought we would get that high up in numbers, but hey, it's great that we are. And we've got a great guest today. Leading off the Women's History Month and Women in Surveying is our current NSPS President, Amanda Allred, from the great state of Washington. And we've had the benefit of having Amanda on several times, and you know what? We thought we would catch up with her today on, hey, it has been a quick year of a presidency, hasn't it? And
yeah, it definitely has.
And really like to kind of catch up with you, what you're up to these days, what you've been able to experience during your presidency, what things have been achieved, and really, if you want to, from your perspective and who you've talked to, where do we still lack? Where do we still need to go as a profession? So, where are you at these days? What's going on with Amanda Allred as the survey professional?
Well, I'm coming to you from Bellevue, Washington. I just about 4 months ago, I started a new job with Terrane land surveying, and it's been a really great experience to be back in the private sector. I've missed it. It's been we always call this the rainy side of the state, the wet side of the state compared to Eastern Washington, but it's been a good change, very urban setting and lots of urban surveys. And so that's a huge difference from what I've been used to, in remote parts of Alaska, and Eastern Washington's very remote, and New Mexico is very remote as well compared to, urban Seattle and Bellevue areas.
Yeah, I imagine. Yeah. Like you said, I just you mentioning that right here now and thinking, yeah, you're right. New Mexico's kind of rural. Alaska obviously has its own unique challenges, and then Eastern Washington. I mean, don't get me wrong, all beautiful places, absolutely gorgeous places, but you've had your share of challenges out in the wild West. So
yeah,
sure. Yeah, so I can imagine moving back to the urban areas it's a nice change of pace.
It is definitely. We've been talking about condominiums and uniform lots subdivisions, and it's just a different world when you come from the PLSS. And I did some surveying in the cities around Walla Walla and stuff, but it's different, and it's a good change. And I think that's why we love surveying as surveyors, because of the change, and we can always go somewhere else and pick up some new tricks. Hopefully we're not getting too old.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's the stark contrast just from one side of the state to the other, and the opportunities that are afforded to us. It's incredible.
Well, that's great. I'm glad to hear that you've been able to adapt and be able to make that change, because that is not that any of the other places, like I said, they're all beautiful, but that Pacific Northwest is just gorgeous. Love that up there. So, well, I tell you what, let's talk about it, Madam President. How has the year been? I mean, you've been able to get out a little bit, and you've had some other things going on, other challenges with your year. But where have you been able to go, and share some highlights of what you've been able to see?
Yeah, it's been an excellent year. We were in Oklahoma this last fall, and I'm actually going to Hawaii in a week. And of course, I always go to LSAW, and I made it to Oregon this year as well. And just getting to visit different parts of the country, as well as we always spend our time, back east in the spring with the lobbying day and everything. It's just it's good to meet surveyors from all over the country, and it's great to see the diversity and the challenges that we face, and to let those people know that they're not alone. All surveyors are in this together, and we as a national organization represent every surveyor, in the United States. And that's a huge challenge because there's so many differences in who we are. But I think just looking at the executive committee right now, I mean, we have people from all over the country, and it's fantastic, from New York to Washington State down to Texas, and lots of places in between.
Well, and one thing I'd like to bring up that, and not that, like I said, I necessarily an oversight, but I mean, we had an opportunity to go to Warsaw, Poland, and
Yes.
what we were there, what you and I were there for with the rest of our contingent. That to me, I mean, that was my first time at an FIG event as well, and I think we all experienced how different. I mean, yes, we're surveying technically the same around the world, but how much different it was. And I thought it was a great experience, and it was really great seeing how well the rest of the surveying community accepted you, and as one of their own, and because it is kind of rare for in most places in the world for a woman to be the president of a large association. I loved that was so recognized, and that you really stood up as somebody that's out ahead of everything.
Yeah, it was so warm and welcoming, and Poland is just a great country to visit, in itself. And I think getting to represent women has been a huge part of the year, and what that means to I'm a Gen Xer, just barely, almost a millennial, but to see what that's going to do to Gen Z and what that will help them with. Wendy Lathrop was a huge influence on my career, and I hope that I'll be able to give that back to others that want to be in this position as well. Because last summer I was able to speak for the women's group in South Africa.
Yes.
And to get to talk to those women and the experiences they have, it's all very similar. It's all very similar, the problems that we face, and just to let everybody know that that we're here, and we can make our mark on the profession, and make a difference within the world.
Exactly. Well, and I know they've recently announced that the next Women's Survey Summit is going to be in Minnesota. Tell us a little bit about that experience and getting that group together. And from what I can tell, you had a great time in Williamsburg, able to see some sites, but really the conversations that can go on from your own unique perspective, and really how that blends back into the profession itself.
Yeah, Anna Rios and Virginia and all those ladies have done a fantastic job of putting a wonderful event together in I kind of hate the term, the safe space, but it really is a safe place for women to get together and talk about our issues without having to worry about offending our male counterparts or making them feel bad or guilty about anything that might have happened to us,
Right.
And it's because it's not about them, and it's not even about the poor treatment we faced. It's about having a camaraderie to ourselves, and having that bond with similar people from a similar demographic is what land surveyors have always got out of land surveying. And
yes.
You can see the pictures from the BLM to the USGLO, and those. One favorite of mine is the group of women that were surveying during World War II. That
Yes.
You can see the camaraderie on their faces, and that's just such a fun trip. And any women that feel lonely or feel not so much engaged in the entire profession, and that they're outsiders, I would really encourage them to participate in that conference, because it is so unlike any other conference you'll ever go to, where you're not, one out of 100 or one out of 500 people that are there, but you're part of the larger scene, and you're part of the larger group.
Exactly. Well, and I think you and I both have had the benefit of being involved in some bigger groups, to where there might be, the percentage of women may be a little higher than others, than most of the others. But, just in some of my travels around in some of these more rural, smaller association states, yeah, it's really disappointing that the percentages aren't the same even in there. There might, I was just in Montana recently, and I think there were only two female PLSs there. And, I'm hoping that there's more than that, but, like you said, even creating this comfort level to where they can come into the room, because they're, we're all equals in this, and we really need to present that front that we're all equals in this, and respect you as a fellow professional, bottom line.
Absolutely. And I always talk about all the great people and the great mentors that I've had over the years. And it's not worth focusing on the meanness or the callousness that we face, because everybody faces those challenges, but it is certainly a unique position women are in this profession. And to fail to recognize that, I think, would be a shame. So.
Yes. And well, it's been good. The message that you have been able to carry forward, not even just within your presidency, throughout your career, and obviously you'll continue that through your past presidency, and then, well, because like you said, the mentors that provided you some ways. I only see you carrying that torch forward. I think that's very important, and you're providing really a role model for the rest of the young women and others, and young men as well, that, we're in all this together. And so, yeah, keep beating that drum.
Yeah. And it's really, I'll be around as long as they'll have me. It's a funny thing to be, going out the door, but I'm really proud of a lot of the things the Workforce Development Committee was able to achieve. And you kind of ride on the backs of the chairman of those committees. And I can't take credit for the work they did, but I think there was a lot of things that happened during my presidency that I'm really proud of. And there's always more that you wanted to do, but that's why you hang out and see if they still need help.
Well, it does start at the top. It starts with solid leadership. And if we don't, I think, impress upon our committees to what successes they can have. And I think that's one that you were able to really encourage them to really take the ball and run with it. And so I've seen you as a champion for that committee. Like I said, even well before this last year in your presidency. To be honest with you, I'm not surprised that they have stepped up and done what they've done, because there has been the encouragement, and it definitely stepped up with your encouraging words through your presidency. So like I said, give yourself a little bit of credit there.
Well, thank you, Tim. That's kind of you to say. We had a lot of the committee chairs meet with us monthly. The executive committee gets together twice a month, and I think it's eye-opening for the rest of the organization to see how much we do, between meetings, and as well as you and your team there in Maryland. Are you in Virginia now? I can never.
No, we're still in Maryland. We stayed in Maryland.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. No, that's fine.
My back east geography goes down the drain quickly, but all the hard work that we all put into this organization, and to remember we're all part of a team, and that really came together for you and I this year, Tim, and I'm so proud of the things that we accomplished. Absolutely.
Yep, I agreed. And it is a test to work in an office with three women, and to not have them gang up and beat the living pulp out of me some days. But hey, it's what it is. I can't imagine a better office and better office mates. So no, it is important. I guess I do want to segment a little bit, because it is the Women's History Month and Women in Surveying. Something I've been talking to several people, including mostly women. We're talking about the strength of what women bring in complementing the profession. Because, let's be honest, women look at things different than men. And that's what I've always appreciated about the fellow professionals, female professionals that I've worked with, that men are problem solvers. They want to get this stuff done. They want to just get it done and get it out. Whereas it seems to me that the women I've worked with, they're always not skeptical. They're always open-minded to, well, what if we look at this boundary problem this way? Or what if we look at it from this perspective, or whatever? That it's that whole left brain, right brain, Mars and Venus thing. But there is something to be said about men and women complementing each other in this profession. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think anytime you get diverse people in the same room, you're going to have challenges, but But the end effect of getting people from different parts of the country, different men and women involved, different ethnicities, is that you will get a much wider perspective. And that perspective will give you strength, and it will give you insights, and it will give you just powerful tools that you never knew were possible because you never had those people in the room. And that's sometimes what we experience continually, having people from different parts of the country within the room at NSPS. And that's one of my favorite things about it, is because you, as you know, spending most of your career in really urban areas of Chicago, I couldn't relate to that.
Mm-hmm.
And vice versa, you know, and
right.
That's what we have to do, is represent, you know, different people. And as surveyors, we represent different people. And one of the challenges that I noticed early on in my career were even women and minorities who didn't have the ability to get surveys done because they weren't well connected with land surveyors or attorneys.
Right.
It's been an incredible experience to afford to be able to bring surveying to people that didn't have the ability to get those surveys done before. I did a survey for a lady in southwestern New Mexico, and she couldn't get a survey done because she divorced her husband, and he was an attorney and he had all the connections, and she couldn't get the 1 acre that she was awarded in her divorce. And because nobody would come out there to do it, because she was very poor and she didn't have a lot of means. And I was able to go do that for her. And that affords ownership of property. Can you imagine being able to give that to somebody who never would have gotten that opportunity had she not had the survey done and the land division done? And that's changing people's lives, and it's changing people's lives in remote America. It's changing people's lives in remote Africa, and it's getting minorities and women the ability to own property. And that's just mind-boggling to me, you know.
Oh, exactly. And I think, you know, I guess going back to the Warsaw experience, that's something that really drove that home, and hearing more about land title issues around the world. You're exactly right that, you know, it's nice that we see here in the U.S. that there are more women that are buying properties, more, you know, not even just single women, but more women within a couple are buying properties and able to do these things. But that's not the case around the world, and we need to be able to change that narrative. So, yeah, to hear stories about like you just said with the poor divorced woman, yeah, to be able to give back a little bit like that had to have been a very, very satisfying situation for you.
Oh, absolutely. And those are the surveys you'll never forget, you know. And it wasn't that long ago that women couldn't actually inherit property or own property in the United States, and we oftentimes forget that. And it's a great place we live in with great opportunities, and to afford that to other countries it's just amazing. And I think that's why I'm so happy if people can make it to FIG this summer. I think meeting surveyors from around the world and the respect that we garner around the world, it's something land tenureship takes for granted in the United States, where other, you know, developing countries don't have those means. It's just incredible to see how much they're respected. I had a doctor he was from Nigeria.
And, I was hoping you would tell this story.
Yeah, it's my favorite story. His name was Victor Wachuku, and he told me and my husband that he was not smart enough to be a surveyor. His dad was a surveyor, and several of his uncles, and he embarrassed his family by coming to the United States and becoming a doctor because he wasn't smart enough. And that's the kind of respect that people in other countries have for land surveyors, because we help facilitate them getting infrastructure, water, and policing, and being able to enforce the laws of property ownership and where their homes are built. And those are things that people worldwide do not take for granted, and which Americans have the luxury to take for granted a lot of the time.
You're exactly right. Like I said, I was hoping we could fit that story in somewhere, because you know, when you told that last year before we went to FIG, I was like, that's incredible. I mean, you're spot on, but that's incredible. And that's what going to FIG really opened my eyes to how surveyors are looked at around the world versus how we're portrayed here in the United States. And you're exactly right that I'm hoping that we can entice more people from the United States to come to FIG and see how great this profession truly is and how revered we are, simply because of our experiences and our abilities. And
Yeah. And it's great
you're
because
right.
I've gotten to meet a couple ladies that work in the United States from Poland, and really the opportunity to bring international people when there's such a shortage of surveyors, it's huge. And people that don't take the opportunity to go to FIG, I really I almost sympathize with them, because you don't know what you don't know sometimes. And I hope that anybody who's listening will look at that and think about going.
Well, good. Well, let's talk about FIG for a little bit. It is the Working Week 2023 in Orlando at the Signia Hilton there in Orlando, just outside of Disney Springs. It is May 28th through June 1st. We're going to have a golf outing on June 2nd. There's a couple of pre-events on June 27th and 28th with young surveyors and a few other geodesy-based things. We're anticipating somewhere between 2,000 and 2,500 surveyors from around the world coming in. I guess from your experience in Warsaw, and we're going to try to draw it out even bigger here with Orlando coming out of the pandemic. What did you take away from the actual Warsaw experience as far as any kind of sessions, any kind of interaction? What can someone expect coming into an international event?
Yeah, the prospect of meeting other surveyors, I think that's so huge, and the different perspectives that we bring to the land surveying community throughout the world. But the underlying foundation of the principles of land surveying, it's just incredible. All of those sessions that you go to, where you get to listen to the papers that people have put together that they're presenting to the organization. I think those were my favorite things to do, those 15-minute sessions where you have 15 minutes to talk about, your study or what you had done. And those are great, because then you don't lose people out of boredom, but
right.
they're able to hit the highlights and really talk about what they do. And FIG is just at another level. It's just the cream of the crop surveyors, and you get to really meet the people representing those countries and the people that take getting to travel and getting to see new places, that they don't take that for granted. John Hall has been so instrumental in getting people from around the world who have never even left their small village, much less, flown out of the country. And he's enabled that through his foundation to bring people from remote parts of the world together, and to see the respect he garners and the work that he put together through the foundation. It's truly amazing. He's a celebrity when you get international with him.
Yep, exactly. No, you're exactly right. And I think hopefully, one thing we're trying to publicize, we've seen several papers and articles going around about the geodesy crisis and how we are going to be short on educators, and really those to take us into that next, that next realm of experience with geodesy. And let's face it, everything is geodesy at this point in time because of GPS, GNSS, and the datums and everything. But yet we're having such a shortfall with educators and not supporting programs and such. And that's what I guess part of what I'm looking forward to is we are going to have a lot of educators from around the world come here and really present on these topics. And so I'm hoping it gives the U.S. surveying community a perspective on this is why it's just so important that we support the programs that are doing these educational things, and to support and recruit these future educators on some very critical educational programs that we need to follow through on. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm glad we're going to have a pretty good contingent there. Like you said, I think you've made some pretty good friendships, relationships from around the world. It'll be nice to see them again and to be able to enjoy Orlando and what the U.S. has to offer.
Yeah, and it's really a good time for us to show off as American surveyors on who we are and what we get to do. And everybody is so curious across the globe about America and getting to work here. You just have to be on LinkedIn to get pinged with people who want to get out of their countries and have the opportunities that we're afforded. And One of the other emerging issues that I think I would like to help work on is the problem that we're facing, not only with the limited amount of educators, but it is the limited amount of surveyors that are out there now and that are having to work for companies or for their superiors aren't land surveyors, and they might be the only surveyor in the entire company, and having to represent that for all surveyors, and the challenges with communication that comes along with that, with emphasizing how important it is to follow procedures and standards and laws within the state that we're working, because those things don't make sense to non-technical people, and to reiterate to keep the businesses, in compliance, and even our own licenses, it's a tough road to hoe. And I think that's only going to continue as there are less surveyors all the time, but that will continue to be an issue for us, because I spent my whole career working for land surveyors up until the last 5 years. And now it's an opportunity in itself because it helps us educate people, but it is certainly a challenge.
No, you're spot on. And thank you for bringing that. But that kind of leads it up into one of my final questions on, yes, you're coming out of you're in the final stretch of your presidency. Like you said, you're going to be around as long, until we have to shake a stick at you. What are, and that's a great segue into, my question was going to be, what are the remaining challenges that NSPS and the profession need to face? And that is a great one. And I think you're absolutely right that we need to really push forward and I won't say necessarily take a stand, but, really stand up for what the profession is supposed to do. It doesn't matter that whether it's an engineer, an architect, an accountant, whoever's the lead of a company, I, as a president of a hospital, I wouldn't want to tell a neurosurgeon what they're doing wrong. So why should
absolutely?
Why should the head of a company that's not the surveyor tell the surveyor what they're doing wrong or how to do some things? So, you bring up a great point, and I think that's something that really needs to be championed a little bit more, is to stand up for your profession, stand up for your experience, and stand up as being a professional. And you're spot on.
Absolutely. And it's one of the best parts of being a surveyor is to educate people in a kind and professional manner, because sometimes we lose our patience and we lose the ability to keep conveying, this basic principle we can't let go. This is a law we have to follow, and we can't subdivide property illegally, and we have to follow all these rules and regulations because that's our duty. But it's also a great time. It's great to work with diverse groups, and it's great to face those challenges together.
Yep, exactly. Well, listen, I'm going to be cognizant of your time. I appreciate what you've shared with us, which has been just absolute nugget after nugget. And I definitely appreciate taking time out of your busy schedule. You're still in the middle of your work day. I'm trying to figure out how to wrap mine up. So being on the opposite ends of the US. One last question I have for you, especially after coming off of, like I said, home stretch of your presidency, having been some of the places, how does the future of surveying look to you from your perspective?
I think it looks great. The emerging technology, we're going to get into AI soon. We're going to get into all these crazy things that you and I probably never thought were possible, 20, 25 years ago. And who would have thought the things that we're doing now? And it makes me feel old sometimes to think of the progressing data that we're going to get. There's just going to be a data overload, and there's going to be a hard time for people to interpret that data and to apply it correctly. And we're never going to lose our spot as far as importance goes. It may make us nervous sometimes that our numbers are dwindling, but I think that only makes us more valuable as individuals and as people out there in the marketplace. It's still a good time to be a professional land surveyor because companies are still looking. And I would really encourage people to find a company that supports your professional goals, and again, supports your need and your want to advocate for the profession and be within a society, because those companies exist. And no matter who you are, that they will work with you and do those things. And that's why I'm really grateful to be at a company like Terrane, because not everybody would let me take an hour out of my afternoon to do this, but it's not only is it encouraged, but it's seen and as important and for the good of surveying overall.
Well, and that thank you for mentioning them. Like I said, a little shout out to Terrane, because what I've seen on social media and them promoting, bringing you on and really, continuing what you've been trying to push as far as I'll say promotional efforts. I mean, for the profession, not just Amanda, but it's been for the profession, and kudos to them to be really thinking in a positive, forward manner, and allowing you this time to sneak off and record a podcast.
Yeah, the next time you're up here, you're going to have to come by the office, Tim. I'd enjoy for you to get to meet everybody.
Would love it. Like I said, that Pacific Northwest is one of my favorite places now, and can't wait to get back. I love them San Juan Islands, and like I said, Seattle's such a great town anyway, in the whole area. So no, looking forward to getting back. So, well, Madam President, thank you for your time. We appreciate taking the time out, and we look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks at our spring business meeting, and getting the gang back together and doing the business of NSPS for the benefit of the profession.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Tim, for having me on. And since this was our first year, you're right out of the gate, and me, being president, I think we set a great precedence. And so I hope the rest of the presidents are just right in there with what we were able to accomplish. And I have no doubt Bob Akins and Davey Edwards and Linda Foster coming up are going to be excellent representatives.
Oh, I think so too. I think we do have a bright future ahead of us, not just for the profession, but for the organization as well. Like you've set a pretty high bar, but we've got some good ones coming behind. So let's just do all we can to keep it up there.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you, Amanda. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Take care, Tim.
You've been listening to the Surveyor Says podcast, brought to you by the National Society of Professional Surveyors. If you have any questions about today's episode or any other topic, please email us at info@nsps.us.com, and we are here to help. Visit our website, nsps.us.com, to learn more about our association, the programs we administer and support, our sustaining members, and information about future episodes of Surveyor Says. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify, as well as our podcast host, Podbean. And remember, it's a great day to be a surveyor.